Hi y'all, TheGooseFathr here. Today is the first video in our Pyg Academy series where we hopefully will continue to be putting together really deep explainer videos on each of the major Pyg archetypes. Today we're going to start with the brand new one because it's fresh and fun. We're going to look at Money Tree and kind of talk through how to put this one together. This is not going to be a beginning of the Pyg day one video. Hopefully pretty soon we'll do a how to do early Pyg video where we go through all of the strongest items, the skills, the order and sequence in which you do things in. This is more going to be about how to put together a build of Money Tree, like where to find the things that makes Money Tree sing. I've seen a lot of comments on Reddit and also in my chat where people are saying that if you don't get the damage enchant, you just lose. And that's deeply not true. Money Tree is more of an activator than it is a build in its own right. So what we're going to do here is I'm going to go through all of the different monster items and skills that you can get that really pair well with Money Tree, as well as some lesser thought of Pyg skills and Pyg items that will help make the build go together. And then we are going to look at 4 different examples of the build. We will look at a run. We're just going to look at the video of the very final stage, talk through the items and skills and how they interact, and then watch it in action on its final round of combat. And we're going to go through 4 different kind of different versions of the archetype. So starting out, the first monster you run into that's going to have like that you really want to aim for, that's going to have something very powerful for Money Tree is Sergeant Suds. He has Rivet Gun. This is a way to convert Money Tree into damage even without a damage enchant. So Rivet Gun, every time you use the item on the right, it charges the item to the left of this. This is very similar to Pendulum. Pendulum will charge both items will charge each other. But it functions the same for this particular build because it's Money Tree that you're using as the charger of whatever is on the other side of it. Rivet Gun drops from Sergeant Suds. He's good to go to anyway because he has a skill that also gives value to your leftmost items, so you can get more value on your tree from that if nothing else. But if you manage to get Rivet Gun, this is a very big activator. You can now use big bonk type weapons over on the left hand side and get it charged really quickly. If you go these screenshots are coming from howbazaar.gg. If you go yourself, or if you just look at these particular screenshots in the document, I'm linking this document down below. You'll not only see the monster that each item comes from, but you'll also see who might sell that. So in this case, it's Stella. So if you see Stella, if you go to the random encounter or the merchant encounter, etc., we're able to choose different merchants. Stella is the one we want to hunt for on Money Tree because she can have Rivet Gun. Also Mac because he can have Pendulum, and we'll see that a bit later. Also on skills, if it says Pygmalian, then you know that our vendors actually sell those skills. So these are good tags to look at to kind of figure out where you can find the item. The next one is Joyful Jack. He has equivalent exchange. When you heal, charge 1 poison item 1 second. So this is really good either if you got a poison enchant on your Money Tree, or if you got a poison enchant on something else, like say your subscraper. If you got it on Money Tree, that means this is infinite. It basically, it heals, it charges itself, and it just starts spamming. So it's very, very, very strong if you happen to get a poison enchant on your Money Tree. But if you don't, if you find anything else that has poison, you could get a lot of leverage out of this. So this starts making you hunt for poison items for monsters that you can put together. I'm not going to necessarily look at items that are those type of activators. What's important to keep in mind is the specific charge mechanics that you can get. And then with that in mind, you could find activators. So like if it's a when you shield charge something, then you could put Money Tree next to say a duct tape. And now Money Tree is creating shield every time it goes, so that can be used as a charge, right? There's so many of those combos out there, but you just need to look at the specific skills that are doing the charging to kind of envision what items you might want next to your Money Tree. And we'll talk through a few more of those as we see them. Dr. Vortex is a classic one. When you freeze, slow, poison, burn, and haste, charge 1 item. We will be able to do multiple of these on a Money Tree board, so this just gives you a bunch of charge. Unfortunately, it's charge one item, so you don't get to like focus that charge on your money tree for like the infinite spam, but it's still just a good activator all in large. Wandering Shoal is similar when you slow charge one item. So if you get slow on your money tree, you get to utilize this. Another big way to get these activators though is to get it on your balcony. So if you got slow enchant on your balcony, then every time your money tree casts, it actually is charged by your balcony as well. And so, or it is utilizing the slow, so it is giving a charge. So all of these, when you burn, when you shield, when you slow, you could get either by balcony or by just items like, in this case, marbles, putting a marble next to your money tree that money tree spams and gets it to create the charge mechanic. Burninator bot drops the first 5 times you use a slow item each fight, charge a burn item. So this can work both ways. If you have burn on your money tree, then you can utilize slow through either what we just talked about, using marbles, or using slow on your balcony in order to charge itself and get a bunch of start a combat spam. Or you could have slow on your money tree and use that to charge a burn item. A good instance of this would be if you started off with like a kiosk and you built it up pretty good. It's a good item, but it falls off late because it's too slow. Well, now money tree utilizing this skill could spam it pretty fast. Roaming Isle is a great one. When you heal, charge a shield item. So money tree already activates the skill. Now you just need something with the shield. So you go, basically you take this and you go farming at Kev and see if Kev gives you anything big and bonky that has a shield attached to it. Soul of the District is the a shield item that has massive amounts of damage. So this would automatically let you charge up Soul of the District if you had that. We got Trash Titan, drops Juggler, which is classic. When you use a small item, charge a large item for 1 second. So if Money Tree is your only large item on the board, you could put a golden yo-yo next to Money Tree and get infinite spam. So that's very, very powerful. Void Colossus, when you burn, charge a shield item. So again, this could go either way. Either your money tree is the burn or the shield item, and you could use it as an activator for its alternative. And then just one of the great items that you can utilize by having a very spammy board is I have the Colossus. If you don't have a damage enchant and you're wondering exactly what you do, you're often running money tree and matchbox early as you're trying to figure out some other way to get damage. Well, now you just throw I have the Colossus between those two, and you don't really need all that damage. You just destroy their whole board. You pair this with a couple of the early charge mechanics. So the first time Money Tree casts, it spins a little bit and you can womp through their board incredibly fast. It's a lot of fun. Awakened District is just one of the great bonk items available in the game, or Soul of the District that drops from Awakened District. And it is a shield. So if you got that Void Golem skill, then you can utilize this. It's fantastic as a one-shotter, but it's very hard to use because it's so slow. So Money Tree speed allows us to activate it. The main way you're going to be able to activate this, though, is because getting that particular combo might be hard. But Rivet Gun has a couple of sources. Like I said, you could get it from Stella, or you could get it from Suds. Or Pendulum, you could get that from Lord of the Waste, or you could get that from Mac. If you get either of those, putting that in between Money Tree and Soul of the District means you now have a very fast giant bonk. So that's a really powerful way to win the fight, even if you didn't get your damage enchant. And Lord of the Waste, as we talked about, drops Pendulum, as does Mac. Pendulum is when adjacent items are used, they charge each other. So this works both ways. You can also use it, like in between this and a billboard if you had damage on either one of them to get more speed out of the two. So that's it for like the monster drops you want to focus on. Again, there's a bunch of other great monster drops that like give you crit damage. There's obviously the one from Property Baron, which doubles the value of your items. We're just focusing on the charges because that's how this really gets strong. And that's also how this gets into the fight when you don't have a damage enchant. Pyg has two notable ones already that we've rarely ever used before, but are now very strong because of this particular item. He has Calming Heals and Invigorating Blade. Both of these are available on Reginald, who's the heal vendor, but only available at gold. So Reginald doesn't have anything that's good at all early. So on your day 7, or sorry, your day 8 level up, he has a chance at these, but it's not fantastic. But day 11, he has a very strong chance of these. He has a really small pool, probably about 12, 13 skills, and you get to see 6 of them. So on the day 11, you have a really good chance of finding these. On the day 8, it's okay. I would still go for it, definitely. The calming heals is the first 5 to 10 times you slow charge a heal item. So again, you just put either you get slow on your balcony, or you put any other items that do slow, or you put a marbles next to this, and now you get a bunch of spam. Or if you have slow already, then it automatically self casts itself, which is pretty great. And invigorating blades is even easier to get together. All you need is a golden yo-yo. You put a golden yo-yo next to this and this skill, and it's infinite for the 5 to 10 swings, which means you have a start of combat 2 seconds spamming money tree that hopefully is either passing that speed over to as a charge to some item like your Soul of the District, or like your Eye of the Colossus, or some other bonk, or if you have a damage enchant, it's utilizing it that way. The last one is not like the others, but it's very worth talking about. Lethargy is a skill that increases the cooldown of everybody's items, so it makes other people take longer to get into combat, which gives you more time. And Money Tree, once it gets to a certain value, is exempt from this because you have enough cooldown reduction to bypass the additional seconds. So this slows everyone else's board, but doesn't slow your activator. So it's a very powerful skill to utilize. It's obvious. I'm not putting in all the econ items, but I have to mention VIP Pass just because it's kind of the nuts. It's what you're fishing for. You will be hard fishing small vendor Andy until you get this, because it's the #1 way to charge up your money tree. Obviously, you plop it down next to it. One of the skills of being good at this build is actually gauging the power of the monster fights and making sure you take damage off your board in the monster fights so that you could stay in them as long as possible to get as many swings out of your item to charge it up and get as much value as you can from those fights. There are times where you're also gauging how much you need XP right now versus how much you need more value on your tree. And you will again pick certain monster fights, maybe not pick the highest experience monster fight in order to get, more value on the tree, especially as you're trying to get to that threshold where it's down to 1 second, or where now it's down to 1 second after lethargy or after fort. So fort works very much like lethargy. It adds 1 or 2 seconds to everybody's cast time, but you can have enough value on tree to bypass this. It also gives multicast to everything over 8 seconds. This has a really good combo with Ointment right now, with Fort on the board and Ointment Fort at Diamond. Ointment multicasts, and that means it halves and then halves again the amount of poison and fire damage on you. It really keeps you in the fight. If you don't have anything doing damage except like a matchbox or like a not fully charged up tree yet with just like a poison or a fire or something enchant like that, so it still takes a while to kill somebody, having Ointment on your board removes one of your biggest counters, because obviously your tree is doing a lot of heal to keep you in the fight, but if they're stacking poison and burn, you're going to die pretty fast. That really is a good combo and cuts that down quite a bit, so it's worth talking about. Subscraper, we'll see 2 of the following runs with Subscraper. Is as soon as you get it, you start putting value on it, so it becomes your primary catch for like your rewards card, because it'll then dump its value onto the money tree and then gain heal back for all the value on the board. And so it kind of utilizes it both ways. It's fantastic. It's such an enabler because Money Tree and VIP Pass are going to have so much value, because VIP Pass also gains a bunch of value as it goes on your board. Subscraper numbers are going to be through the roof. They're going to be very, very high. So if you manage to get this before you get your damage enchant, often you might want to put your damage enchant on Subscraper if you happen to get it, just because it's hitting for such massive numbers. All you then have to do is figure out how to get it into the fight, and then the fight's over. We'll see a couple of videos where we utilize that. The other thing is, even if this just has a shield enchant or something like that, or even heal enchant, it is a lot of survivability. So if you already have some other mechanism of damage, putting this in the fight not only gives a bunch more value to your money tree, which if that is your damage source, is just flat damage that way, but every time this goes off, you're back to full. It's pretty powerful. Skyscraper is one of the easiest ways to get all the value you've been sacking into damage if you haven't found any other mechanism. So, going to pull is as soon as you're able to get this item. It is at diamond, so you can't get it until day 9, but you can find it you could obviously fish it off Property Baron, and then you can find it at everybody who does the large vendor. So Midsworth and Pull are the 2 best places to fish for that. And it's just like, if you haven't found anything else yet to make this is an easy go-to in the meantime until you find something better. And then Luxury Tents gives multicast to your tree, which just lets you multiply the shenanigans that you're doing. That's pretty strong. It is worth talking about Balcony. I didn't put it here, but as I said before, you can get enchants on Balcony that give power to your tree, not just by giving activators, but you could also get like the shiny enchant, which gives multicast to your tree. And we'll see a run where we have one of those, and that's incredibly powerful. So if you aren't going the subscraper route and you already got an enchant you like, you often don't know where to put your second one because you're usually in a weird board transition. Honestly, you usually get your first enchant by getting knocked out, because Money Tree is very hard to put together early and to have anything meaningfully powerful early on. And then your second enchant when you hit day 10, pretty close to it, and you don't have much to put that enchant on. Keep your eye out for Balcony, and that's a great place to do it because it becomes an activator and it can do things like give shiny multicast. Last is a non-intuitive one, and this isn't exactly for tree, but we use it sometimes, and we'll see an opponent of one of our matches use this pretty well. Open Sign adds your value as shield or as damage to other properties that do shield or damage. So if you're running the Skyscraper, you can use Open Sign to add even more damage from your money tree onto it, and it kind of scales it to the moon. It gets very, very strong. Or what one of our opponents was doing is they happened to get an obsidian billboard. A lot of people have been comparing money tree to billboard and saying it's not novel because we've had this all the time. We haven't. It's very novel. The difference between the two is that billboard's shield is flat. It doesn't go up based on its value. Whereas money tree, you can keep scaling its value and then scale its damage if it has an enchant, by getting the value item, by using subscraper to give it more value, by getting balcony next to it, and just by scaling. Whereas all you can get is speed off billboard. Open Sign, however, changes that. So if you had like an obsidian Open Sign, you can now put this next to it and put a bunch of shield and damage back onto it based on the value of your highest item. And we'll see an enemy who almost kills us using this. We had a couple of lucky skills that kept us in the fight. But yeah, so just wanted to give that an honorable mention because you can sometimes make hay out of this item. So that's it. We're now going to hop over to 4 quick videos where we're going to review a board state and then play the fight and see how the fight plays out, just to kind of see these things in action. So the first example we have is a pretty basic run. We have a subscraper and a money tree that got fire from fiery bootstraps. We don't have a lot of skills that are making a bunch of hay or a bunch of activations out of this. It's just more of a basic board. We have reserve shield that when we use a large item gives us a little bit of shield to kind of keep us in the combat. We have the cleverly titled Overheal Haste that gives you haste to your whole board when you overheal. This is actually a drop off of Banana Bowl and is pretty great because we heal within 1 second, so it's almost always an overheal. So it gives kind of a start of combat full board haste. It's pretty good. It makes going to Banana Bowl very much worth it. And then we just have some items that aren't doing too much. Backroom Dealings got us some hit points when we went to vendors. The storefront is just giving a little bit of extra value onto our leftmost item. We're freezing when we burn, and we're freezing mid-fight. So most of the build is just that we have a fiery subscraper, a fiery money tree, and a balcony to give a little bit more value to our money tree. So we're going to play combat. And you can see there's nothing super fast about this particular version of the build. It does exactly what you would think it does. This is kind of how the build gets put together before you start thinking of all the clever activations. So that's our first example. So here we have 2 pigs for the price of 1. This one's pretty good. We on our side are using Pendulum Soul of the District. So our money tree is causing Soul of the District to spam. And on their end, they are using money tree and billboard, and then an obsidian billboard. So the billboard's doing flat damage, and then an open sign to take all of the value that they stacked onto their money tree and convert it into damage over onto the billboard. This one was actually one we almost lost. We happen to have emergency shield, so when you get to half health, you get to cast your shield item, your slow shield item. And so what happens here is in 1 second, they actually crit with this and do a little bit more than half of our damage. It immediately procs Soul of the District, but they have so much hit points and shield happening that doesn't kill them. And then we have to spam our tree to get the second cast of Soul of the District out for us to win the fight. It happens really fast. It's hard to see, but we'll play it here in a second, and then we'll look at the review after. We have a couple of skills being utilized on top of our shield. Also, we get Defense Grid, which helped us kind of stay alive for the first swing. As soon as we use an item, we get 50% of our shield up. We have the Overheal Haste, which when Money Tree starts, all of our items are hasted for 4 seconds because it's a diamond. And then the only real activator we have to spin up Money Tree is when you slow heal. And you'll notice that we have the slow enchant on our balcony. That's it. That's all that's making it go as fast as it goes. So you can see how much value you can get out of one of these charge mechanics. So let's take a look at how this one went. So it was incredibly fast. District swung 2 times in that amount of time, which is pretty hard to see. But if we go over to the replay here, you can see that Soul of the District swung twice. Didn't kill him the first time. The main reason it didn't kill him the first time is because he had done so much damage to us that he chunked out a bunch of our shield. And therefore our first swing wasn't worth as much as it normally is. By the time we got the second swing going, however, we healed back up and were able to do almost the full damage to him and finished him off. But that was a pretty fun fight. He is using a couple of different mechanics. He's mainly using the one that charges a shield item. Or when you use a shield item, sorry, it charges another item. So that is getting Money Tree to do a little bit of spam. But otherwise, he's not really using many charge activations. He's just relying on the ton of damage he's getting out of the open sign and all the crit chance he has, and the 1 second cast time out of billboard. So both of these very, very effective versions of the build. Let's go take a look at another. So this is a much more sophisticated version of the build. We were lucky enough to get an obsidian subscraper in this one, so that obviously goes a long way, but we would be able to use any other large item here, just with the way that the build particularly works. And we have a fire enchant on our tree, but again, that only matters so much as an activator, not so much as damage. So we have a lot of skills that are being utilized for charge. We would be able to charge this build for quite some time. When we slow, we get a free charge. So we have marbles next to our tree. So our tree spins the marbles and gives us a couple extra activations every once in a while. But we also caught a clamor out of dig, which gave us start of combat slow. This means that immediately we get a charge. It can land on either of the 2 large items, but it might get Money Tree into the fight at start of combat. If not, it at least starts putting some charge on our closer here. Yeah, so when we slow, that happens up to 10 times. The big one is we have Juggler, which means every time you use a small item, you charge a large item. So every time Money Tree goes off, it is making Yo-Yo go, and Yo-Yo is giving a charge either back to Money Tree or onto our subscraper. We have a from the Void Golem when you burn haste, so we're getting haste every single time Money Tree happens, but we also have the start of combat full board haste that comes from Banana Ball here that we managed to get upgraded. And then we just have a bunch of general crit skills or value skills, et cetera, et cetera. But the charge mechanics are what you're really going to see, because this becomes pretty fast considering you have a 5-second item. So this is what it looks like in combat. So if you were counting at home, that was about 2.5 seconds to get the crit. And that is mostly, yeah, that's what you could do with all the various mechanics using a bunch of different charges. We have one more build after this one that uses even more charges. I think it can self-charge for, I don't know, maybe 5 seconds of every 0.2 seconds spamming. Let's go take a look. Here we have probably our most sophisticated version of the build that I'm going to be able to demo for you anyway. This one was kind of crazy. If you manage to land an obsidian enchant on your money tree, you just have so many extra ways of charging it that it becomes insane. I think the obsidian enchant is the strongest just for that reason, that you're able to add a lot of charges. You're also able to get skills that like make it get lifesteal, or we have the skill that if we get the half health, it doubles the damage, things like that. So I really think because of that, you have so many more toys to play with that you can get the build incredibly strong. So like we talked about in the intro, we're using Fort and Ointment. They don't come into play that much in terms of like actually being activated, because the fight does not get to go that long. But obviously it is preventing them from swinging. He does have a when you poison freeze, and start of combat freeze is one of the few ways that a board like this can lose. So Fort keeping his items from poisoning anytime quickly gives us time to close out the fight. So it's very good in a situation where your money tree stands all by itself. I believe we have haste here, or maybe we don't have any enchant on the balcony. I apologize, I forget. But the real mechanics at play are when you slow, charge. So every time we manage to get that marble spinning, we charge. The marble also has burn on it, but we never really got to make use of that. But those are the kinds of things you do. If you get an extra enchant, throw it on something you can activate and hold it around to see if you end up making some use out of that in your combo with your later skills. The big one, we got Juggler. Actually, this isn't the big one. We got Juggler, so we also get a charge every time we use Yo-Yo. So every time we use marbles. So every time we spin marbles, we get 2 charges out of it. Though we don't get to choose where the charge goes to on Juggler, whereas this one goes to our tree. But the big one, the self-casting. Oh, I'm so sorry. I just figured out what our balcony is. Our balcony is shiny. So our balcony is absolutely doing something in the fight. It's giving our tree multicast. So every time the tree swings, it gets to swing twice. And then the big one, is when you use a weapon, charge a heal item. And this comes from Reginald. This is actually really easy to get. The other reason why Obsidian is probably our best enchant, because this is very farmable, which means that Money Tree auto casts 10 times in a row. As soon as you get it into combat, it just spams 10 times. And because it has multicast, it spams 20 times. In doing so, it's going to trigger the marbles many times, which can charge again up to 10 times onto our tree, and then spams Juggler as many times as it goes, and that can land any one of 4 places. So this ends up getting a massive truck ton of start of combat spam. And just to add to it, the first 3 times we use any item, charge a weapon. So any non-weapon, charge a weapon. So these items activations are also all adding more charges to Money Tree. So this is just an absolute truck ton of different ways to charge the tree. It's just going to spam for quite some time. We also have the start of combat haste that you can get from the eclectic Etherite, I think is how you say that name. And then just a bunch of crit skills. We have over 100% crit damage here, which means, and balcony is doubling the flat value that you see on the screen of the tree, which means that each swing is worth about 3,200 damage. And that's before the multicast. So this is going to spend 10 times multicasting before any of the other triggers. It is going to get 20 swings at 3,200. It's pretty impressive. So let's take a look. There's kind of no way to stop that except for start of combat freeze. You see that we are frozen because they managed to get one swing of something in, which caused the freeze to happen. It doesn't really matter because we got off a bunch of swings ahead of time. So this is what you can do when you really get all the pieces together. There were even more charge combinations that we could have gotten, obviously, but this is kind of a high-end perfected version of the build. So that's it. I hope you found that helpful. We went ahead and went over all of the skills that might be useful to you, some of the items that you can fish for from monsters, some of our items that are useful, as well as did a couple of showcases to kind of see what tree looks like when you really get it off the ground. I hope to have another video up fairly soon. I can't say when because, yeah, it takes some time to put these together, but also to learn some of the material. I hope to have a video up soon on Pyg's early game that walks you through all of the different kind of board pairings that work really well on day 1 and day 2, as well as what those pairings might tell you about the different archetypes you might be leaning towards. In the very long term, we hope to turn each one of those archetypes into a Pyg Academy video like this one. So if you'd like to get more content like that, go ahead and subscribe. But if not, I hope this video itself was either useful or entertaining to you. Anyway, enjoy and hope you have fun in the bazaar.